Hello everyone, welcome back to LaExcellence Bengaluru presents current issue of the day 140. In today's episode, we will be discussing a very important chapter of our Indian history, that is emergency. So we will be discussing why it is important for us now. So this marks 50 years of emergency. 26th June marks 50 years of emergency. So we will be discussing why it was declared. First we will go through a story way, why it was declared, and then we will also discuss what are the constitutional provisions of declaring a national emergency. Okay. So in syllabus it comes under GS2, Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions, as well as basic structure. It also comes under GS1, history in especially post-modern history. Okay, significant events that happened post-independence in India. Okay, and context is on June 26, 2025, India observes the 50th anniversary of national emergency that was declared by Indira Gandhi led government in 1975. Okay, so before we understand what national emergency is, what are the constitutional provisions, first let us understand why national emergency was necessitated. Okay, so imagine a day in democracy where opposition leaders are being arrested, press is curtailed, and civil liberties are curtailed. This is not a fiction, this is not a fiction but a reality. That is the reality of India during the 1975 emergency. It is famously called as the day democracy stood still in India, or the darkest day in the democracy of India. Okay, so why such a extreme measure was necessitated in India, especially the largest democracy in the world? Okay, so there are few reasons behind this. It was not all of a sudden that emergency was declared by Indira Gandhi. There were certain reasons behind this one. There were certain situations, circumstances which necessitated, according to Indira Gandhi, to declare national emergency. So the reasons for declaration of national emergency, first and foremost, is the political and legal crisis that was happening during 1975 and 74. Okay, the main reason was that Indira Gandhi's election to Lok Sabha was invalidated by Allahabad High Court. Okay, why it was invalidated? The Allahabad High Court felt that Indira Gandhi has misused government mechanisms for election purposes, which is against the base structure doctrine, which is against the fair election practices. As a result, her election to Lok Sabha was invalidated, and the punishment was she was disqualified for contesting in Lok Sabha elections for 6 years. Okay, this was the first main reason for Indira Gandhi to take that extreme step. And then comes the second one is the political protest. Okay, when Indira Gandhi decided to take this step, even before that there were ongoing protests happening in the India, mainly led by Jayaprakash Narayan, and the movement was famously known as JP movement. Very important movement, JP movement. In this, he was already protesting against the wrongdoings of Indira Gandhi government, and he also called for military and the police to disobey unconstitutional orders. Okay, so he called for disobeying unconstitutional order, but this was taken out of context by the Indira Gandhi government that he is calling for a coup, he is calling for internal armed rebellion against the government. Okay, and finally, based on these orders and other intelligence reports, finally there were intelligence agencies such as IB and RAW, they decided that there are chances of breakdown of law and order. Okay, so this was the final nail in the coffin, you can say, when the intelligence order or intelligence agency said that there can be a chance of breakdown of law and order in India. Indira Gandhi government decided to proclaim national emergency, and finally the proclamation was done by Indira Gandhi. She advised the president. Okay, though the decision was Indira Gandhi's, the final authority to proclaim national emergency lies at the hand of president. The then president was Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. Okay, and the ground for declaration of national emergency was internal disturbance. Okay, which was later amended due to the misuse. So this is the story of how national emergency or the darkest day of Indian democracy came about. So this is the static part. Now we'll also discuss the constitutional background or constitutional status of national emergency and in India. So first and foremost is, what is national emergency? National emergency as defined by the constitution under the article 352 is, national emergency can be declared in India in case of war, external aggression and armed rebellion. The authority of declaration of national emergency lies at the hands of president. President, if he is satisfied either on the written document of the cabinet or otherwise, can proclaim national emergency on any part or throughout India, based on the grounds of if there is a war happening or if there is an external aggression and there is armed rebellion. So this armed rebellion was not part of the original constitution. It was initially internal aggression, which was misused by the Indira Gandhi government, and later this was removed and armed rebellion was replaced. So original term internal disturbance was used, but 44th Amendment Act changed it into armed rebellion. So the grounds for proclamation are, in the original provision of 1950, allowed emergency for internal disturbance, which was vague and broad. There was no definition of what is internal aggression, what constitutes internal aggression. So, and in 30th Amendment made the president's satisfaction final and beyond judicial scrutiny. Okay, and in 44th Amendment, internal aggression was replaced by armed rebellion. So there have been changes to the original provisions of constitution, original provisions of emergency in Indian constitution. Those were as follows. And then there is process of proclamation. We understood the grounds of declaration of national emergency. Now what is the process for declaration or proclamation of national emergency? So first, who is going to initiate? Initiation must be based on written recommendation by the Union Cabinet. Okay, written recommendation by the Union Cabinet. It is very important for you to know that this is the only provision where the term Union Cabinet has been used in whole of Indian Constitution. Okay, and then it is anticipatory in nature, that is can be declared even before the actual occurrence of war, aggression or rebellion. Okay, it is not necessary that you can declare national emergency only after the war, internal aggression or rebellion has happened. Even just an anticipation that there is a chance of these three can happen, you can declare national emergency. Then parliamentary approval is must here, must be approved by both the houses within 1 month. Okay, both houses within 1 month. If you can ask, what if Lok Sabha is not in house, what if Lok Sabha has been dissolved? In that case, the Rajya Sabha has to approve for a time being, and immediately after the Lok Sabha has been reconstituted, it has to approve within 1 month. If Lok Sabha doesn't approve within 1 month, then the national emergency stands seized. Okay, then how this approval should be by a special majority as per the article 368 type. Okay, that is majority of the total membership and 2/3 of the members present and voting. Okay, only with this special majority, the national emergency can be approved. Then duration is 6 months. It can be extendable indefinitely with the fresh approval every 6 months. Again, after every 6 months, you need special majority of the parliament. Okay, that is national emergency. And then there is territorial scope. What is the territorial scope? That is which areas can national emergency be declared. Initially, once national emergency was declared, it was throughout the territory of India, but it was later changed by 42nd Amendment by Indira Gandhi government, that it allowed partial emergency confined to specific areas. Meaning, if internal disturbance is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, then national emergency can be imposed only on the Jammu and Kashmir areas. If internal disturbance is happening only in the Naxal areas such as Chhattisgarh and Odisha, then national emergency can be declared or proclaimed only in that particular space. Okay, This was added by 42nd Amendment. Very important for your prelims perspective. Then, what are the various judicial reviews and scrutiny of this one? Okay, so national emergency provision has been one of the most contentious provisions of Indian Constitution. So this has been looked after by the judiciary in various cases. Mainly, first was the 38th Amendment Act. It made president's satisfaction final and non-justifiable, meaning the court cannot look into the president's satisfaction here. And in 44th Amendment, they changed this 38th Amendment Act and they restored judicial review of emergency proclamation. It was empowered by Lok Sabha, that is, if 1 by 10 members gave written notice, a session must be convened within 14 days. A session must be convened within 14 days to discuss about the revocation of national emergency. Okay, emergency can be revoked by a simple majority. Very important. Proclamation or approval is by special majority, but revocation is just by a simple majority. Okay, and then in mineral milk case, Supreme Court held that emergency can be struck down if it is based on irrelevant or malified grounds. Okay, in current context, if national emergency was declared on the same lines as declared by the government of Indira Gandhi, then that national emergency will be declared null and void or struck down because it is malified or irrelevant ground. Okay, very important. All these provisions are very important, especially for your upcoming mains. Okay, and then how national emergency can be revoked? One is duration of the national emergency is it can continue indefinitely with the periodic 6 months renewals. Okay, indefinitely. The term is very important here, meaning if the war goes on for 5 or 6 years, then the national emergency can be there with for 5 or 6 years. Okay, that too with 6-month periodic approvals. Whereas in president's rule under Article 356, that president rule can be there for the maximum period of 3 years. Okay, maximum period of 3 years. After the end of 3 years, there has to be a democratic government set up in a particular state. So that is why the word indefinite becomes important. And then revocation, the president can revoke any time without the parliamentary approvals. Cannot revoke, okay? And there is a Lok Sabha oversight as well. One is president can revoke it, and other way how you can revoke is if there is a Lok Sabha overall. That is, if 1 by 10th of Lok Sabha members give written notice to the speaker or president, must convene a session within 14 days, and after the 14 days session is convened, if Lok Sabha gives just a simple majority, then national emergency is revoked. Okay, so one way it can be revoked is if there is no approval after 6 months, then it is revoked. Another way is president can revoke without the parliamentary approval, meaning he has a backup of council of ministers. And third is if Lok Sabha decides to convene a meeting and pass a revocation resolution with a simple majority. In these 3 cases, national emergency is revoked. Okay, and then what are the implications of national emergency? Very important. So when the national emergency is in place, it changes the federal structure of India. It changes the democratic values of Indian government. How? The impact on center-state relations is the executive control is taken over from the state by the center. That is, the center gains dominant powers over the state governments in executive power, whereas in legislative powers, parliament can now legislate on the state subjects as well. President can issue ordinances on the state subjects, which is not the case in regular intervals. That is not the case in normal democracy, only possible when there is national emergency. Such laws remain valid for 6 months after the emergency ends. Okay, if you are making a law during the period of emergency for a particular state, that law is valid only till 6 months after the national emergency ends. Okay, and then there is also changes in the financial control as well. That is, president can alter financial distribution between the center and state. There will be reduced grants or tax transfers can continue till end of the financial year after the emergency is lifted. Okay, so these are the changes that can happen when national emergency is in place between center and state relations. And Implications in legislature is Lok Sabha under Article 83 Clause 2, its term can be extended by 1 year at a time if there is a national emergency in place. It cannot continue beyond 6 months after the emergency ends. Okay, and state assemblies term can be similarly extended with same limitation. Okay, that is, it can be extended for 1 year, can end with 6 months after the emergency ends. And then very important aspect, impact of national emergency on fundamental rights. Article 358, there is automatic suspension of rights under Article 358. Which rights? Article 19 is automatically suspended only when emergency is due to war or external aggression, not in case of internal aggression. Okay, not in case of, armed rebellion. That's the right word. It applies nationwide regardless of where the emergency is declared. Okay, if there is a external aggression or war, then fundamental rights under Article 19. What is Article 19? Freedom of speech and expression. There are 6 sub-articles, 6 sub-freedoms which are provided under Article 19. Those Article 19 fundamental rights are automatically suspended throughout the India in case of war and external aggression. Then, in Article 359, some certain rights can be curtailed through presidential order, meaning president can suspend court enforcement of specified fundamental rights. However, it doesn't apply to 2 rights, that is Article 20 and 21, right to life and personal liberty and right against detention. Okay, these 2 rights are given no matter what. Even if the national emergency is there, Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended by the president. Okay, very important. 20 and 21 can be regional or nationwide, covering all the selected rights. Okay, this based on the presidential order, any particular rights, any particular area, any particular time. Okay, so this is Article 358 and 359. And then under judiciary, in 38th Amendment Act, it shielded national emergency from judicial review. However, it was revoked by 44th Amendment Act, which restored court oversight, and Mineral Scale held that it can be invalidated based on the malefied or irrelevant grounds, which already discussed. So, what are the historical precedents in India? Has national emergency been ever declared in India? Obviously, it has been declared. It has witnessed 3 national emergencies. One is during 1962 to 68, due to war with China, or mainly external aggression by China, and then in 1971 to 77, triggered by war with Pakistan, later extended on the grounds of internal disturbance, that is 57 to 1975 to 77, declared on June 25, 75 for the internal disturbance, widely seen as a misuse of power, which we discussed today, what are the reasons, everything, etc. So this is about national emergency. I have to see why national emergency is very important. This is a previous year question. Do pause the video and attend the question in your comment box. One is, which of the following is or are exclusive powers of Lok Sabha? 1. To ratify the declaration of emergency. To pass motion of no confidence against the Council of Ministers. To impeach the President of India. Correct answer 1 and 2, 2 only, 1 and 3, D 3 only. Pause the video and write in the comment box. Okay, so this ends our discussion for the day. We have discussed only with regard to national emergency. I have not discussed about presidential order, president's rule or financial emergency, because I wanted to keep it to national emergency only. Those president's rule is another topic which has to be discussed on its own, because it is always in news. So I will be bringing a video about this very soon again. And financial emergency, it is not much of importance because it has never been declared in India. Very simple one, you can read on your own. But there will be video definitely on the president's rule. So if you like this video and if you think you gained something out of this video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.